Hey, Pepin.
Yo, yo.
You know, I went on a date once a while ago.
Really? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was fair related.
Well, was it exciting?
It was pretty exciting.
Something happened during it?
There were a couple things that happened.
Really? I think we need to talk.
Contrived. Welcome back. So glad you guys could join us yet again. My name is Meader. I am here with Pepin. How's it going, Pepin?
Doing well. The candle's also doing pretty well.
I love that candle so much. That's definitely the third guest. We do have a fourth guest here today. B, how's it going, Brian?
It's going. How about you?
Not too bad, thanks.
B's the third guest. The candle's the fourth guest.
All right, well, we need to switch mics then, so the candle can have the third mic. Whatever. So, you know, before we really get started here, I do want to say, you know, if you guys listening like this show, I would highly suggest checking out a Canadian show called What's the Finish, WTF. They talk about current events. They talk about stupid news stories. They talk about a lot of wrestling-related stuff as well. And it's hosted by Brian Langell. He was on this show before, as well as the rock star Chris Cole, or Brian's other show, 3-Player Co-op, TPC. That show is hilarious. If you like gaming, you will love that show. So check them out. In the meantime, let's get back to topic dating. I have a pretty decent dating story that revolves around the fair.
Really? So we teased this at the beginning, so provide some context.
So I was I was in my hometown, and I happened to be walking down the street. I went to the store to get a soft drink, and there were some girls hanging out outside of the library. And as I was walking by, they were very aggressive. They were just like, "Hey, you." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" They're like, "You want to go to the fair with us tonight?" I'm like, "Sure." So I got their numbers and I went back home. And then I completely forgot about it. So I was planning on going to the fair that night anyway. And I called up a girl I knew and I was like, "Hey, want to go to the fair tonight?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So I went to her house. I picked her up and I went back home. And I was driving back past home and I got a call from the girls who I was supposed to be going to the fair with in the first place. And so I swung back by home and parked on the side of the road, got out. They were waiting by my house. And the girl who I had asked on the date sat in the car. And I walked up to the girls and they looked at the car and saw that there was another girl in there. And they were like, "So what's going on?" I'm like, "You ready to go to the fair? I got another date." I'm like, "We can all just go." And then they were like, "Oh yeah, I don't know about that." Like they were I don't know why, but for some reason they didn't want to go anymore.
Wait, so this was set up as a date with these random girls? Like that's what they thought?
It was implied, but it was never like explicitly like, "Would you like to go on a date with us?"
Like all of them? How many were there again?
I don't know. I had a date with 3 girls simultaneously planned, and I tried to get all 3 to go on the date with me.
Are we sure it's a date or is this what?
So they were like, "Well, I don't really want to go on the date anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, we can still give you a ride." And I offered to give them a ride to the fair. And for some reason, they weren't interested in that either. So I just got back in the car and I took off. And the girl that I had invited on the date was like, what was that about? I'm like, "Oh, apparently I had other dates already, but they don't want to go on the date anymore for some reason." And she was like, oh, okay. So we went to the fair, and it was actually a lovely time. I kept trying to get her to go on one of those ones that like flips upside down, and she wouldn't do it. So we got in line for some other things, Ferris wheel and things like that. And I happened to see my brother there. I saw my cousins there. And then at one point we're like going down to like where they keep the animals or whatever. They have like the little animal show, but it was like later at night. So the animal shows were all over, and instead they just had pictures of animals inside, like on the outside of the cages, but the cages were closed. So we couldn't they were like boards, so we couldn't see inside. So they just put pictures of the animals.
You're making that up.
No, I'm dead serious. And while we're there,
was anyone looking at the pictures?
No, we were the only people in there.
The museum.
But the girl that I was with, we'll call her Jade. She wanted to actually like go around all the stalls and look at them. I'm like, what are we doing? This place is closed. And honestly, I think it might have actually been closed. Like the lights were dim. It wasn't like well lit. All the cages were closed. Nobody else was there. But we just wandered in, looked at the pictures. She's like, no, I want to go look at the animals. I'm like, they're only pictures. Why are we going around looking at pictures of animals? She's like, they're cute. So we were walking around looking at the pictures of animals. And then all of a sudden, Jade just like stops and like looks up and stares out through it's not quite a doorway. It's like a half window. I don't even know how to explain it, but we saw some people walking past, and she's like, oh my God, that's my sister. And I'm like, oh, okay. You want to go say hi? You can introduce me. She's like, she's with a boy she is not supposed to be with. He was beating her, and he went to jail, and now he's out on bail, and he's not supposed to be with her. So I'm like, oh my God, that's awful. Like, she's like, let's follow him. So we sneak past the pig pen, the pictures of the pigs, and we're peeking out over corners and like following them. And then at one point we lose them, and we're like, oh God, we gotta find them. So we're walking up and down the fairway. We got carnies yelling at us, trying to get us to play like squirt the bullet game. And we're like, we're on a hunt. Sorry. And so eventually we see Jade goes, oh my God, there she is. And her sister stops, sees her, turns around, and they start running in the opposite direction. This is a pretty crowded fair. This is like their busiest night. So we start running through the crowd after them, and we're like chasing her sister and her sister's beater boyfriend through the crowds of the fair. Eventually we get caught up with them, and she's like, I'm telling Mom and Dad. And she's like, go ahead and tell them. They already know. They're already looking for us. I'm like, oh my. So your parents are here too? So we just had to let them go. And eventually I got her to try and go on the upside down machine. We were next in line, and they're like, ride's closed, fair's over, go home. And that was the time I almost had a date with 3 people at once.
This feels like an episode of like Louis C.K. where like nothing is resolved.
Well, we didn't go on a date again after that. That was our second date. Oh. You want to hear about the first date?
I'm still imagining like your date just being like, oh my God, look at the bunny. Oh, look at the goat. Oh my God, it's so cute.
She was.
You want to get a picture of me with the cow?
Oh my God, she's taking selfies with a picture of a bunny.
You laugh, but I can kind of like empathize with her as far as wanting to see the pictures of animals.
Her favorite were the baby chicks. Oh man, we hung out by those pictures for a while. that was the second date. The first date, we actually worked together, and the first day she was there, a bunch of the guys that I worked with, like, making cat calls and like stuff like that, but like not at her, but about her. And so to stop it, my resolution was to go ask her out. I didn't go ahead.
I'm not quite sure I understand. Catcalls not.
They were like, oh, the new girl, she's so hot. And then they were like teasing each other, like, James, you ask her out. You would love to get with her. And like, she was very pretty. So they weren't like, they were joking about it, but like in a very serious way, like nobody has the balls to ask her out type of thing. So my resolution to get them to stop doing it was actually to ask her out, because then it's not a joke anymore. Then it's just like, oh, well, Meader asked her out. So like the joke's over. But I didn't have anything for us to do. So I didn't think of that. All I did was I asked her out. I'm like, hey, you want to go out tonight? And she's like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'll call you later. So I went back and worked. And the whole time I'm working, I'm like, oh God, what are we going to do? I have no idea what we're going to do. I don't have any money. So finally I get the idea. Oh, my friend, Matt Drew, he has a show tonight. I'll go to the show. So the show is at a record store, and he's like selling his CDs there. So I'm like, hey, Matt, we're coming to the show tonight. He's like, yeah, it should be awesome. So, and I had followed Matt's career pretty closely. I had his CD. I knew all his songs. I knew all the words to his songs. So I bring my date, and I'm like, hey, Jade, we're going to go to the record store in town. We're going to go see Matt Drew perform live. He's one of my buddies. We should be able to get in for free. It'll be pretty sweet. Kind of like pulling some like, yeah, I'm connected. I know what's up. I know the local music scene. So we get there. Nobody's there. It's just Matt performing to an empty store. His girlfriend's there. She's not even paying attention. She's just looking at her phone. So I go in, and I'm like, Matt, and I'm like jazzed, like I'm super energized, like I'm trying to salvage this embarrassment. I'm like, Matt, how's it going? You are killing it up there. And he's like, you know it, Steve. And I start singing along with his songs, like dancing in place. And nobody shows up to the event. Nobody even walks into the record store to like look at records. So the show ends. Matt's like, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. So we walk off. I'm like, Matt, this is Jade. Jade, this is Matt. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Then the record store owner comes over. He's like, great set, man. Like, great turnout. And then they start talking to us, and we're all talking. Well, it's really the record store owner just like talking at us. And then he pulls out this big box full of books. And they're Harlequin romance books. And he starts just handing them out to us. He just gives us Harlequin books. He's like, oh, this is a fire sale. We just got to get rid of these things. We ran out of inventory space. So I get a big stack of Harlequin books.
Like Harley Quinn from like Batman?
No, Harlequin is a romance novel, and they're usually sex books.
Oh, yeah. Descriptive.
That's where the Harley Quinn came from.
Oh, I see.
It's known as its own genre type, but it's actually, what is it, a publishing house or something like that?
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, so I have this big stack of them, and I happen to flip through one of them, and the girl's name in it is Jade, but it's spelled different. It's Jade instead of Jayde. So we're driving home, and I'm like, so what do you want to do? That was my plan. It's been like an hour. She's like, oh, I don't know. We can do whatever. I'm like, okay. So I drive her home, and I drop her off. She was so upset about this. Oh my god, I forgot. It was Halloween. And we were both dressed up. She was an Indian, like a Native American, and I was Quailman from Doug. Oh my god. So I drop her off in her sexy Indian outfit as Quailman. And I'm like, see you at work. Then I drive home, and I take a pen and I changed the name in the book. Every single time it shows up in the book, I put a Y in there. So it's her name throughout the entire book. So I dropped her off early so that I could do that to give it to her the next day at work. And that's how I got my date at the fair.
That's so sweet.
It's the most awkward, romantic, insane story that you've ever heard. And that's what a date with Meader is all about.
Yeah. I can honestly relate to the whole, like, changing the name thing, because I did something like that myself once. Like, there's a girl I kind of liked for a little bit. She lived far away, so what I did was, in all my pictures on Facebook, I would kind of, like, Photoshop it and put, like, little weird things in there. I had one picture of me pinning someone, and I put it as this person. Let's call her Bethany. So I put Beth there. You know, me pinning her. You know, this is not Beth. And then
wait, you photoshopped her face onto the person you were pinning, and you just tagged her.
You can see, I just tagged her, but then
you tagged. So you're like pinning a dog, and you tag her. It's like Bethany.
So then I had a thing with my photos. No one really picked up on it, but I put like my cat in all my photos, like it's kind of hidden somewhere, like.
Like, where's Waldo?
But then, so nobody picked up on it, so what I started doing was I started tagging the cat as Bethany. And eventually I got a message from her saying, "Why are you tagging me all your photos? Why are you doing this?" Like, we were pretty friendly before, like, kind of little flirtatious, but after that, it's just like, I don't know.
So you're comparing that to me changing the name in a romance novel to her name.
Yeah, just kind of like being a little weird and creepy with it, and saying, you know, because she could see it. You know, I was sending it to her through Facebook message, or notifications. You gave it to her in person, so that's a little more personal there.
I think that's sweet. It's creepy, but it's sweet. Both stories, because
you got low standards.
Well, I'm just saying, if a guy, because I know a lot of guys have. Okay, generalizing again. Most of the guys that I know have short attention spans, so for them to take the time out to personally, like, change a name or tag someone they like, and just, like, that's sweet.
Mine took, like, 3 hours, like, straight just doing that.
But you had to read and look through and make sure that you got every name, right?
Absolutely. I had to read the entire story. So, I know the story.
That, to me, is amazing, because you just... That's so sweet, because you took that time. Did you even like this girl a lot?
Well, I mean, we went on 2 dates. I took her to the fair. You tell me.
So she was really pretty.
How many girls have you taken to the fair?
Well, that's going to be my story.
Ooh, tell us more.
Well, it's not a fair, so you do have me up on that. So there was this... I thought it was a guy I was talking to online at the time, and he wanted to meet up for drinks and a movie or something. And I was like, because I don't really date, so this is probably like my first like official date. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll try it out. Sure, whatever. So we set up a time, and it was, we set up a time in a spot, I think it was the mall, to meet up, just in case. That was my thing, because if it was someone kind of creepy, I didn't, I needed an out, so I wanted it kind of public, if that makes sense. So I went to the mall. I was dressed cash, because that's what we discussed, and I get to the meeting spot maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier than what we discussed, and I'm kind of like people watching, because I love doing that, and I'm by myself and looking around, and I have my... I asked for basic, so what do you look like? We never exchanged photos or anything, and so, like, I was looking for, like, blue eyes, 5 foot this, da-da-da, but didn't express genders or anything. So I'm looking for this guy, this kind of, like, around, a little bit taller than me, build about the same, blondish brown hair, yada, 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 short. And 5 minutes past the time, nothing. I don't see this gentleman, and then 10 minutes pass, don't see anything. And then about 15, 20 minutes pass, and this girl comes up to me. And she's nice enough about it, how she did. She goes, "Excuse me, are you Brienne?" And I'm like, yes. And there's that long awkward, or it felt like a long awkward pause. And she's like, oh, my name's Pat. And I went, no. And she's like, yeah, we set up this day. She said my screen name, this and that. And I went, my jaw just dropped. And I was just like, oh.
You're not into girls 482, right? Yeah, I'm definitely a guy 3.
I could not believe, like, how do you talk with someone online, like, get a kind of connection with them enough to meet up and not discuss your gender, just, and I'm not against gays or lesbians or anything, but I'm like, how did we miss this step? Like, how did this happen?
It just didn't seem important.
We just had that awesome connection, I guess, and it was just assumed. Well, she was a lesbian. She is a lesbian.
So how'd the date go?
Well, she kind of got the hint that I was, not like that, and she's like, well, if you want to cancel and just I understand this is probably awkward for you or whatever. And I was just like, fuck it, let's do it. So we walked around and talked a little bit more just so I could get, a little more comfortable with the situation because I was still kind of like baffled. And we decided to go into Ruby Tuesdays in the mall and get a drink and
slam that salad bar.
Tossing salad. No,
that's not even a joke. You just said something
no,
vulgar.
No,
you're like sucking a dick.
That's what I pictured. Was just like the salad. No. Moving on. We sat at the bar and we had a couple drinks, and I'm feeling a little good. And I was like, all right, let's go watch the. I can't remember what was playing at the time, but we went and watched it. Or we went up and I had a friend working there at the time, and I was living with my twin sister, and I was like, oh no. So because I was holding hands with her. I'm like, we're holding hands, girls do that anyways, like, but this was more friendly. And sitting there getting our popcorn or whatever, and I'm like, oh phew, she didn't see us. So we go into the movies, and the movie didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. It was something she wanted to see. I think it was like The Transporter. It had Jason Statham in it. And she kept feeling up my thigh, and I kept, like, putting her hand lower on my knee, like, and it would creep up, and I would put her hand lower on my knee. It was just, fun little things like that.
Sexual harassment, lots of fun.
I mean, she was, like...
Okay, 1 is an advancement, 2 is pushing your luck, 3 times is sexual harassment.
Fair. Yeah, she was pretty aggressive about it, too. But... whatever. I was just like, this is a day of new experiences. I've never done this before. I didn't even expect this. So I just kind of keep sliding her hand down to my knee. And after that, I've kind of had enough. And I was like, all right, well, I want to go home. So she brought me home, tried to give me a kiss. And I was like, I'm so sorry. You're really cool and everything, but this has been fun. I'm not attracted to you in that way, but you're a really great girl. And she really was. Like, it was a really good experience. She respected me and said, that's cool. And we talked about possibly hanging out again, and she left. And
as you do when you plan on never hanging out with them again.
Yeah.
Oh, let's hang out sometime. Yeah,
never.
We'll totally hang out. We can go to the sushi bar and slam that salad bar. Suck a dick. Callback joke.
Have a dick.
Callback joke.
We can fall onto some carpet and start munching it.
Yes. No. I just realized what you said. I'm sorry. I really, that was very slow in my brain. I'm sorry. I probably just ruined that for you. Yeah. So I get into the house and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and so we were living in the old style house that had foyer when you come in? It's like, and there was the stairs going up and it was angled and everything. And there was even a servant's passage in the back, in the kitchen. So
you had servants?
We had servants. No. But you know what I mean? Like the passage in the back, the passageway in the back of the kitchen so that no one could see Okay, never mind. Well,
We were living in the
anyways.
Clue house. And
Yeah, this is a little too complex here.
you open up the pantry and you can make it through the fireplace.
If you check the link in the if you check the link in the description, B has drawn out a diagram of this.
I will too.
To scale.
I will too if I need to. It's actually pretty cool though. That house was awesome. But my sister had the den light dimly lit and she was waiting for me. And she was one of those in bed by 9 o'clock at nights kind of girls. And she was like, Brienne, is that you? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, I could hear like a thud. She had put a book or something down and she walks out and she goes, how was your night? Pretty good. Well, I'm beat. I'm gonna go to bed. And she's like, you know, I love you and I support you no matter what your decisions in life are. And I'm like, oh, God, Kyla saw me. And I asked her, I was like, okay, thank you. I love you too. And she's like, and if you want to be with a woman, I fully support you. And I'll have you know when you come out to our family, I will be there for whatever you need. And she was like really into it. And I'm like, I'm not gay, Brittany. And she's like, oh, thank God. I didn't know what I was going to do. Oh my God. It was a mistake. And I told her what had happened. And she just was like, you're an idiot. And that's my story.
It's a pretty great story. I've never accidentally went on a date with a guy before. I feel like you might have been catfished a bit.
Yeah, well, she gave me an out. Like, she was like, we don't have to do this. And I was like, you know
That's
what?
part of being a good catfish, is being like, listen, you don't have to be here, but if you want to be, you might as well. You're already here. Like,
Yeah, but she didn't push at all, like, that last bit. She was just like, look, this is probably really awkward with you, and I'm so sorry this happened. So she was really a cool person.
I'm not saying she was doing so
I'm just
in that manner. I'm just saying maybe you were
Maybe I
catfished.
should have given her a second chance.
Oh, that's definitely what I meant.
This misunderstanding, was it solely because her name was Pat?
She did have a name that was, I mean, obviously changed for reasons, but she did have a name that was, unisex. Could be used either way.
Unisex.
And I don't know, like I said, how did we not, like, discuss that kind of detail?
Well, I mean, she figured you were a girl, right?
She knew I was, but how did I not pick up and be like,
Well, you know what they say about assumptions. Get some ass for you and me.
So I think she probably just figured maybe she had some experience on this site or whatever.
maybe,
To be fair, you were
it
on
was a chat room.
To be fair,
chat room?
you were
shit.
in a Lesbos under 40 chat room.
No. Is that MSN or AOL?
Well,
that
the
a
one I
thing?
was in was AOL.
Okay.
my name in there was Pat,
Oh, okay.
and now we all know.
That was my experience.
Oh, God, they're looking at me.
Lead us out, Nate.
So I was going on a date with this girl that I thought was kind of cute. And Steve knew this girl. Let's call her Becky. And Becky had gone on a few dates with Steve, and Steve wasn't really liking her. So Steve was like, hey, I think she might like you. You should try going on a few dates with her.
I passed her off.
Did you really?
I'm like, here's a lateral, Nate.
Essentially. So I'm like, okay, so spent some time, tried to figure out if I liked her. I hadn't had any girlfriends, really any dating experience at that time. It was in high school. And Steve's like, hey, let's just like set up a date together. So, we'll go mini golfing. It'll be casual. It won't be, bad. We'll just be hanging out, but you guys can flirt and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So we went there all three together, and I was really trying to flirt with her. Like, I was trying to, pushing her. I was kind of like, kind of doing the kind of normal, dumb, high school flirtatious things.
Pushing her, punching her in the face, flirting.
Yeah. But, it became kind of obvious that she actually wasn't in on the date with me. She was in it to be on the date with Steve.
And I was in it to be on a date with Nate, so it was really awkward.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, I was trying to flirt with her. She was trying to flirt with Steve, and Steve's just kind of like, I don't know.
I'm like, let's putt.
Steve was actually doing very, very amazing at mini golf that day. So he's
As you do.
He's just like kind of all into it. It's like, yeah, I got that, bitch. and
you know how women are when you don't actually want them, when you
want you
show
more.
that you don't want them, they're all over you.
And then, so for whatever reason, we went back to the meeting place, with some other people. There's like an event going on tonight. The event, Steve came for that, of course, and the event happened, then it was over, so then we were getting ready to leave. And, I went to go try to give her a hug, and then she, like, I was just kind of leaning in, she, like, put out her hand for a high five. And then I think she may have given Steve a hug.
Probably. That's typically how it goes.
Friend zone.
So then I guess, like, we left that situation, and then I was a little like, okay, so maybe she's not into me at all. I had some assumptions she was into me, but I think in the presence of, the godly Steve, like, I couldn't compete.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's okay.
And then we started dating, like, 2 months later.
Aww.
And what happened to Becky?
Well, she's a little sad, but...
So wait, two months later is when you and Becky started going out?
Something like that. Maybe it was even a couple weeks. I don't know.
Wow.
But
She got over me quick.
it was pretty funny, though, because one of Becky's friends, she's an older friend, like maybe in her 20s or something, and she kind of watched that whole situation. And so I guess she had a talk with Becky, and Becky was like, oh, God, he's into me? He was going for a hug? Really? Are you serious? I thought he was going for a high five. And she felt terrible. And like a year later, she brought up this whole story and stuff like, I'm so sorry. That was terrible. How could I do that to you?
Aww.
She wasn't even aware. She thought I was just being a dick.
That's so sweet.
like, why is this fucking guy pushing me? What is he doing? Did it even occur to her that I was flirting with her?
Oh, wow.
The best way to flirt is to be really good at mini golf.
Oh my gosh.
Show you know how to get it in the hole. The fewest number of strokes. Brian just snorted.
So, if you like the podcast, we're at WNTT1 on Twitter.
Or at We Need to Talk Show on Facebook.
Also, if you have any ideas for future episodes or things to talk about, be sure to message us. You can get at me at Nathan Pepin on Twitter.
Or me at Meader, Meader. As always, you can, please hit us up. Let us know. What do you think of the show? Have any ideas? Have a story of your own that's an awkward dating story? We want to have you on the show. This show thrives on having guests on. And we haven't had a brand new guest on in a few weeks now, so we would love to have you on. Also, if you like this show and you want some more, hashtag smart comedy. Check out Shot of History, based out of Detroit, and they're actually really funny. They drink while they're telling things about history. They're coming out with a new book, and you should check out that book because it is amazing.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
In the meantime,
We need to talk.
Don't ever use that.